but I got 10 more.
Hey, what's up, y'all? This is Magoo, and you know I got soul. That's why I came to teach those.
Magoo, a talented artist from the Swing Mob Collective, gained fame with his group in the late 90s and early 2000s. He was known for supporting his fellow artists and spreading love. However, another member of the group, Magoo, faced tough times. Unfortunately, the industry wasn't as kind to him. From birth to death, he encountered numerous hardships and struggled to become famous. Let's explore how he eventually gained fame and his search for peace before his passing at 50. Magoo, whose real name is Melvin Barcliffe, was born on July 12, 1973, in Norfolk, Virginia. His early years were really tough. He went through a lot of bad stuff, which he talked about in his song Hold On. He said his parents hurt him, even stabbing him a few times before he was even 3 years old. The lyrics went on like "Own flesh and blood," said I was a clown, but as the world turns, my life can too, and like a knife can too. Yeah, I was stabbed thrice. How about you? Once by my mom, pops the other two kid, ward of the state. I know it was the past, but I just can't shake. How you had a kid, beat me like a slave, I was only 3. How could I misbehave? After that, he and his sisters went to live with their aunt and uncle. He said if it wasn't for them, he might have ended up in foster care and never become famous. He said, wouldn't have been in the position to become what I was able to become. Melvin fell in love with rap in 1979 when he heard Rapper's Delight by the Sugar Hill for the first time on the radio. It was a special moment for him, one he always held dear. He said, it just changed my whole perspective on life because, like I said, I was 6 or 7 at the time, he recalled. I was only 3 years away from being with my real mother who had abused me, so I hadn't completely gotten over that but rap music became my blanket. As he grew older, he started perfecting his rapping skills, finding it to be a great way to express himself. His Aunt Magdalene, or Aunt Mag as he called her, was his rock and biggest supporter. She inspired his rap name, Magoo, and the extra O's in his name stood for the awe he hoped his music would inspire in listeners. During his time at Deep Creek High School in Chesapeake, he befriended other kids who shared his passion for rap, like Larry S. from Virginia, who later became Larry Live. After spending months bonding over their love for rap, Larry introduced him to a famous DJ named DJ Timmy Tim, who later became Timberland. Meeting Tim blew him away. He'd never seen someone so talented and dedicated to their craft. However, Magoo reported that when it was time for him to show off his skills, Tim wasn't impressed at first. He thought my bars weren't up to par. Plus, A Tribe Called Quest was huge at that time, and people started comparing me to Q-Tip, not because of my flow, but because of my high-pitched voice. However, for Magoo, the reality was that that was how he sounded. Even before he started rapping, he was in a singing group, belting out Ralph Tresvant tunes and winning talent shows. He didn't come in second or third, he was taking the top spot with New Edition songs, and didn't like the Q-Tip comparisons, though. He a big Tribe Quest fan, but couldn't change his voice. Eventually, things started looking up. Magoo began crafting better bars, and together with Tim and Larry, they formed a group called SBI, which stood for Surrounded by Idiots. They teamed up with other local rappers, and their crew became a hub for creativity. One day, Timberland introduced them to a young Pharrell Williams, who was part of another group that later became the Neptunes. They collaborated on many projects. It was a blast for everyone, especially Magoo, getting to ride the waves of producing and recording their own music. Their crew was among the first to kickstart the hip-hop scene in the 757 area. Meanwhile, a local girl group called FaZe was making waves with a song getting regular play on radio stations. The lead singer, a then unknown Missy Elliott. While Magoo was working at Olive Garden, a co-worker who dabbled in music production brought FaZe by. Magoo, a fan, rushed out to meet them. He was particularly impressed by Missy's talent and dubbed her Misdemeanor, feeling it was a crime for her to have so much talent. Missy, in turn, was amazed by Magoo's sound, a blend of Q-Tip style with a unique Virginia twist. Magoo believed Missy was already amazing, but lacked the right resources for her talent to shine. So he suggested she meet Timberland, whose production style would complement her group's sound perfectly. Little did he know, this move unintentionally overshadowed his co-worker, who was their group's producer at the time. But Magoo believed things happen for a reason, seeing it as God's way of setting things in motion. When Missy and Timberland met, their creative sparks flew instantly. Timberland ended up producing much of their new material. The group even changed its name to Sista. At a Jodeci concert, they auditioned for DeVante Swing, a member of the group who was scouting talent for his musical collective, Swing Mob. Impressed, DeVante signed them on. Missy also convinced DeVante to bring Timberland on board, despite his initial preference for another producer. Missy also talked about SBI to DeVante. After auditioning, DeVante pulled Magoo aside and expressed interest in signing him alone. Magoo, however, didn't want to leave his friends behind. Years later, DeVante confessed to Magoo that Missy had told him that out of all the members of SBI, Magoo was the true star. She saw his potential and his kindness, and knew he would go far under DeVante's guidance. The Swing Mob, also known as the Basement Crew, was a big group with over 20 members, including artists like Ginuwine and Tweet, who were part of a group called Sugar. There were also producers like Jimmy Douglas, who later played a big role in Timberland's music. DeVante initially had everyone in New Jersey, but later they moved to a 2-story house in Rochester to record Jodeci's albums and other music. They chose a more secluded spot to develop their own sound away from the distractions of New York City. While they all worked together, DeVante pushed them hard to bring out their best. But Magoo had a habit of hyping up other rappers instead of focusing on his own stuff. DeVante once scolded him for it, saying he needed to believe in his own talent instead of boosting others. Despite the tough words, Magoo took it in stride, knowing that DeVante and others saw something special in him. Magoo finally got to show off his skills when he appeared on the remix of What About Us in early 1994. It was his chance to shine and prove his worth as more than just a supporting artist. Being part of the Basement Crew was a huge learning experience for Magoo, but it had its tough moments too. There were times when money was scarce, and they barely had enough food. Everyone was crashing on couches except for Magoo, who had been through worse and understood it was just part of the journey. As things got tighter, some of the artists started taking on part-time jobs to make ends meet. Magoo and Ginuwine even did landscaping work for the studio's owner, David Shoemaker. But when one of the artists landed their own deal and left, DeVante felt betrayed. He started to question everyone's loyalty, wondering if they were all secretly trying to leave too. Around this time, DeVante had been spending time with S.H. Knight, and he began adopting his harsh tactics when dealing with the artists. Stevie J recalled one night when things got really intense.
He used to slap Timberland, Ginuwine, and Missy Elliott. You heard about that?
After that rough patch, members started leaving the Basement Crew one by one. Between 1995 and 1997, Timberland and Missy started writing and producing for artists like Aaliyah, while their crew member Ginuwine also landed a deal with Blackground Records. Magoo tagged along, and as a duo, they began working on their debut project. Before this, Magoo's style was a bit raw and unpolished, but seeing the business side of the industry made him realize he needed to stand out from the rapper he was always compared to. He said, "I just wanted people to have a good time and party. That's what my intentions were. If I wanted to be a dope MC, I could have bodied a lot of people. I always had the lyrical ability, but I knew that's not what everyone needs to do. Somebody has to make the fun records, and I knew I couldn't go a certain way because of Q-Tip. I tried to find a way to get away from it as much as possible. I literally was trying to get away from that because I had so much respect for Tribe. So, I had to be the happy rapper. It would have backfired if I tried any other way." The duo released their debut hit, Up Jumps the Boogie, on July 11, 1997. It featured Magoo, Timberland, and Missy, each rapping 2 verses, with Aaliyah on the hook. The music video also included many of their former crew members, now known as the Super Friends. The song soared to #1 on the rap chart, #4 on the R&B chart, and #12 on the Hot 100. It went gold, selling over 800,000 copies. It was incredible to see how far they had come from the streets of Virginia to the big stage after years of hard work and dedication. Their debut album, Welcome to Our World, dropped on November 11, 1997. It featured a variety of artists and collaborators and went platinum. The album spawned 2 more singles, Clock Strikes and Love to Love You. They traveled across the U.S., performing their songs live. While many fans loved them, some hip-hop heads didn't take them as seriously because their lyrical content was more carefree, quirky, and sometimes vulgar, which didn't resonate with all listeners. Magoo reflected on this later, saying, "We made fun records, but they weren't corny. I don't have any regrets. I liked the reaction I got from fans. I didn't gain the street credibility that I did with hip-hop, but I felt that if I could make people happy and have a good time, then I was contributing to hip-hop too." However, the Super Friends always had each other's backs, not just on projects, but also in their personal lives. When Magoo went through a tough breakup, the members of the R&B group Player invited him to stay with them while they were working on their first album. Being around them was incredibly healing for him. They had a great time working on the project together, and Magoo even ended up rapping on their album, Cheers to You, appearing on 2 of the interludes. He said, "Player made me happy because I never saw those dudes are not happy. I owe part of my success to them. They were an influence on me because of their hard work." However, behind this glamorous life and fame, wealth, and attention from women, he still wasn't happy. He said, "To be honest, I never really got a chance to enjoy the success because it came at a cost. I remember going to see my nieces one time and I had seen how big they had got. It was all just a blur. The video shoots and the flying, I never really got the chance to digest this success. Still to this day, I can tell someone we sold 1.6 million and I have a platinum single too." He further added, "A lot of people go their whole career without having 25% of that, and I've been blessed to have it, but I never got a chance to enjoy it. I'm going to keep it real. I didn't enjoy any of that. I never felt like me and Tim got a chance to enjoy our early years, and it never even felt like we were this million-selling group. Not just from a financial standpoint, but more so because you're always working. You go from that album and then they want another one, and then you have people trying to rip you apart. I didn't get a chance to enjoy that." By 1999, the duo was already working on their second album, Indecent Proposal. Timberland had been achieving great success producing hit after hit for other artists, but he wanted to do another record with Magoo because they were friends and felt they owed the public another album. However, Tim also saw it as his last album as a rapper. Before the album's release, Tim and Magoo dropped We At It Again for the Romeo Must Die soundtrack, featuring Static Major. The response from fans and critics was positive, building anticipation for the new album. Indecent Proposal featured a lineup of hip-hop artists like Jay-Z, Twista, P.D. Pablo, Mad Skills, Ludacris, and Player. Initially, it included famed rock musician Beck on the song I Am Music, but Tim preferred the song without him, so Beck was omitted. Magoo's verses maintained their raw and gritty nature, with witty lines and shots at his critics. The album's lead single, Drop, featuring the crunk hype man Fat Man Scoop, became an anthem for breakdancers in the early 2000s, and was later used in the film You Got Served. However, the album faced delays and wasn't released until November 2001 due to changes at their label, Blackground Records. During this time, tragedy struck their camp as their longtime friend and collaborator, Aaliyah, perished in a plane crash. Additionally, the aftermath of the 9/11 attacks led to a recession in the U.S., hindering the album's promotion. The timing wasn't ideal, and despite the second single, All Y'all, featuring their former crew member Tweet, the album only charted at number 29 and sold around 350,000 copies.
She spoke up for Tim and me, and Barry ended up signing us. You know, of course, he had a lot of respect for his baby girl. Tim, of course, is extremely talented, so I'm quite sure Barry would have worked with him as a producer.
The duo was consumed by grief, especially with Aaliyah's death greatly impacting the Super Friends crew. While Missy, Tim, and Ginuwine used the tragedy as motivation to work harder, Magoo couldn't bear to hear a single melody. However, things took a turn, and on August 11, 2023, the biggest names in hip-hop came together to celebrate 50 years of the genre. Just 2 days later, on August 13th, it was announced that Melvin Mago Barcliff, who was also 50, had passed away in Williamsburg. The surviving members of the group player were the first to share the news, followed by Magoo's wife, Moik, who made the official statement to the New York Times. She mentioned that Magoo hadn't been feeling well for the past week, but had no known health issues aside from asthma. The coroner's office was investigating the cause of death, and she also posted about it on Facebook. Melvin, your family loves you deeply, and we will never stop missing you, and also wrote that even though the pair were separated since 2015, that he and the family were still very close. Tributes flooded in from Timberland, Missy, Ja Rule, Petey Pablo, and many others, as disbelief spread throughout the industry over his sudden passing without an apparent cause. While some speculated it was due to a heart attack, others assumed it might have been related to a recent vaccination. Singer Ginuwine lamented the loss of his comrade on social media. I don't even know how to say anything at this point. I have lost 3 friends now within a month to life, and its due date, this dude, always pushed me. I will miss you, Magoo. That's what we called him. Totally one of the best ever in my eyes, always pressing forward. I know we didn't talk a lot, but the love was and will be always there. My brother. I will see you soon, bro. We all have our date, and I'm expecting the bro hug when I get there. I'm truly EFD up right now. For real, life is crazy. I hate going through this and losing people we love. Sometimes it makes you feel like you don't want to feel the pain, so you want to be gone also. Pain hurts. Man, oh man, blessings to the family, all of my condolences, he wrote. Magoo's demise saddened his fans at an early age, however. Till date, his cause of death still remains a mystery. His funeral was scheduled for September 6th, but there was no news coverage. It seemed like the news of his death had come and gone, leaving many people unaware of his passing. It's worth noting to reflect on the number of notable black artists who passed away at the age of 50. It's tragic to see them all leave us so young. Magoo passed away just 1 month and 1 day after his 50th birthday. There isn't much else known about Magoo. He didn't discuss much about his life, however his work truly speaks what a star he was. That's it for today's video, guys. Thanks for watching.